The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Let's recap. By the way, Senator Brophy is with us, and I don't know if you've seen this. Come and take it. It's a wonderful video that this guy coming up, his name is Steve Voss. He's won some Grammys. He's done this video, and he's done this, and they can't get anybody to let him buy time, including the company I work for won't let him buy time. So we put him up. We put him on the air, and we're hooking him up with a guy by the name of Doug Giles here in a little bit. But it's interesting, as he's pointed out, the big media corps, they're as afraid of the president or in bed with these guys because they're looking for bailouts or they don't want any problems. But the same stations that would not take Voz's ad will take ads from the Giffords, the people with Gabby Giffords. Does that make any sense to you as an elected official?
Well, of course it doesn't. But I guess on the one hand, they just want what's good for business. They're not ideological. No, that's why they shut down all that talk about that you worked so hard on the president's Social Security number. Exact same thing. Let's not talk about the stuff that might be too disruptive because we all got to make some money here.
Oh, absolutely. Let me read you one more. This is in Washington, Seattle Times. We're going to get this guy in tomorrow. Guy by the name of Danny Westneat. This is as Orwellian as it sounds. The notion of the police home inspections was introduced last week in Olympia, Washington, which is the capital of the state of Washington. It is Bill 5737, the long-awaited assault weapons ban introduced by 3 Seattle Democrats. In other words, the police can come to your home without a warrant to poke around. Failure to comply could get you up to a year in jail. They're going to make sure that if you have they know that you have a so-called assault weapon with a detachable ammunition magazine, and they keep saying clips, but it's magazines that contain more than 10 rounds, would be illegal. And the police can come, the sheriff can come anytime, at least once a year, to make sure you have that weapon secure in your home. That's real. That's really happening.
It's so frightening.
I wrote about it last night. This guy's name is Seattle Times staff columnist Danny Westneat. He writes, forget police drones flying over your home. How about police coming inside once a year to look around?
Get it, buddy.
It's part of the major gun control efforts. Lawmakers are headed towards what? They often, you heard people say, they'll never come to my house and take my guns. But when you read this proposal, Senate Bill 5737, you got to wonder.
And the Democrats here, the Senate president has proposed a bill that effectively makes it untenable to own any semi-automatic rifle because you would be liable personally for anything that happens that gun's associated with it. If you've ever even touched it, if you've ever been in the chain of ownership, so if you were the manufacturer or the dealer or the owner, you gave it to your nephew and something bad happens with that weapon, you would be personally liable for the damages. It's just untenable.
With 2 minutes into our break, Senator, what do they want? What do these progressive?
You know what they want? They want only law enforcement officials and government officials to own firearms. And I just don't think they realize how dangerous that is, because then all of a sudden it's no longer, the consent of the governed is no longer required.
It really is. I mean, I was coming up in March, by the way, is when the Nazis go into Austria. And I always have to have these arguments with people. They were voted in. 98% of Austrians voted to unify with Germany and bring in Adolf Hitler as their leader. That's about a month. I think it's a month from today, or a month from yesterday. I think it's March 18th. But remember that. They voted.
Oh, yeah.
They voted to bring Hitler. He didn't roll in with tanks and take over. They voted him in.
And then you never get to vote again.
That was it. It's showtime. We used to always say showtime, showtime.
Look, it's called action time. I think these things are going to pass. There are a handful of senators that you can go to their town meetings. We're getting hundreds. We'll be getting thousands of emails a day. It's time to go to their town meetings and say, how does this make us any safer? I want you to vote against this bill. Contact the governor and say, this won't make anybody safer. Governor, we urge you to veto this bill, because really the only way you get the attention of one of these extreme politicians is if you make them think that there's a connection between what they do during the session and what happens in November of 14.
We'll probably talk in the morning. Senator, thank you very much for everything you do and coming on a radio show. And if this, by the way, if this political thing doesn't work out, I think you got a place in radio. You got a great voice, and you're a smart man. Thank you, Senator, for coming on the show.
You bet.
Senator Greg Brophy, everyone.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.